Bright Duty. Every student matters.
Principle of treatment of diseases. Okay, once a disease is caused, how do the doctors treat it? What is the principle behind it? First step is to reduce the effect of the disease. Okay, so for that, doctors usually prescribe bed rest and to take some light food. You must have heard about it. Doctors tell you take rest, you take light food. Why this is so? Because then you conserve your energy to fight the disease. So this is to reduce the effect of the disease. Also, doctors prescribe certain symptomatic treatment. That is to treat the symptoms. If a patient has cough, he will give a cough syrup. The doctor will prescribe a cough syrup to relieve that symptom, or some medicine to bring down the body fever. So such treatment is called the symptomatic treatment, in which we treat the symptoms, not cure the actual disease. And second principle is to kill the causative organism. Okay, if there is certain microbe in the body, now it has to be killed. So such medicines, as I just told you, these are called antibiotics. So there are two principles. First is to reduce the effect of the disease, and second is to kill the causative organism. The kind of antibiotic actually depends upon what kind of causative organism is there. So that is decided by the doctors. You yourself should never take an antibiotic on your own. Next, as you must have heard this saying, prevention is better than cure. All right. So let's understand from the scientific point of view why it is important than cure. Okay. Once someone has a disease, body functions are damaged and sometimes they never recover completely. So it is very important to actually prevent a disease, because once a disease occurs, sometimes it leads to chronic side effect for a very long duration of time. Secondly, treatment takes time. So for that duration of time, the patient is bedridden, he cannot perform his day-to-day activities. Thirdly, patient serves as a source of infection to healthy people also. He is not only harming himself, but he is a source, because source of infection to other persons through air or through his items, as we just discussed. That is why it is better to prevent a disease. So next topic arises, how can we prevent the disease? What are the principles of prevention? So this also I have divided into certain categories. There are two ways of prevention. One is the general and another the specific way. General way is just to stay healthy and generally avoid all kinds of diseases. General ways involve preventing exposure. For example, for airborne microbes, we can prevent exposure by avoiding overcrowded places. So if you don't go to overcrowded places, you will not be prone to the airborne diseases. For waterborne microbes, we can prevent exposure by providing safe drinking water. Do not drink water from unsafe sources or from the roadsides. Okay. And for vector-borne diseases, we can provide clean environment. Like vector-borne diseases, those which are carried by houseflies or by the mosquitoes. So if the environment is clean, we are actually not allowing the breeding of houseflies and the mosquitoes. So such diseases can be prevented. So these are the general ways in which we are trying to avoid all kinds of infections. But our immune system also plays an important role in killing of the microbes. So this also falls under general, because if you are eating a healthy, nutritious food, your immunity will be strong. You will be able to fight off many small infections from in day to day. So proper nourishment is necessary for better functioning of our immune system. This is also a kind of prevention. So the next category is the specific way. Suffering from a disease once is a means of preventing subsequent attack by some pathogens. I'll just explain you this in detail. Suppose this is the body of an organism, okay, and there is some foreign toxic germ, okay, which causes diseases. So this will start, once it enters the body, it starts growing and multiplying and leads to diseases. So our body produces antibodies to kill these such microbes. So sometimes what happens, it takes some time to create these antibodies, and by that time these microbes have actually grown and caused the disease. right? But when this microbe enters in future, the antibodies are already ready. They are there in the body to fight off the disease. Okay, this is the basis of immunization. What happens? Suppose this is the body of an organism and we inject the antigen. This antigen is either dead or it is deactivated. The disease causing microbe, it has been deactivated or dead and it is injected into the body. So it will not cause any disease, but it will initiate the production of antibodies because body will start producing antibodies to fight off this pathogen. So although this pathogen, this antigen cannot cause disease, but body is preparing. So the body has these antibodies to fight off the disease. Once there is actual infection in future, the antibodies are already there to fight off this disease. Got it? I hope you understood. This is the basis of immunization. So I'll read it. Suffering from a disease once is a means of preventing the subsequent attacks by the same pathogen. In case of any infection for the first time, our immune system responds against it specifically, that is by creating antibodies. Our body generates antibodies. Next time when the same microbes enters our body, the immune system responds with greater vigor because antibodies are already there. So this eliminates the infection more quickly than the first time. So immunization is done to prevent the diseases. So what this I just told you, we inject the deactivated antigen or some killed microbes. Such medicines are called vaccines. Vaccines are to prevent many diseases. They are now available for a whole range of diseases. Public health programs of childhood immunization is run by the government. Children are vaccinated against tetanus, diphtheria, whooping cough, measles, and many other diseases. For example, MMR. This vaccine is for measles, mumps, and rubella. BCG vaccine is for tuberculosis. Polio drops, you must have heard about it. All these vaccines are given to children to prevent the cause such diseases in future. So this vaccination actually, it helps the patients to develop immunity, okay, to develop antibodies. So whenever there is infection in future, body fights with it with more vigor. Now, vaccination was developed centuries ago during the epidemic of smallpox. Edward Jenner, okay, he was a great scientist. He tried giving cowpox to people to make them resistant to smallpox. Actually, cowpox is a very mild kind of a disease, but it is related. It was related to the virus causing smallpox. So when cowpox virus was injected into the body of of a person, of a healthy person, he suffered a little bit because it's a very mild disease, but he actually, his body created antibodies to fight off the smallpox. So such patients, they became resistant to the smallpox. This actually gave rise to immunization and vaccines. Okay, you can conduct a survey of health of the children belonging to rich and poor families. This is the activity which you can do. You will find, you can check the health by measuring their body weight or their height, and how many times they have fallen ill in past 1 year or so. So you will see a drastic difference between the children belonging to rich families and children belonging to poor families. One reason could be their diet, because children belonging to rich families, they take balanced nutritious diet, while poor people, they cannot afford it. Second reason could be their physical environment. Poor children, they are forced to live in the environment which is not clean, okay, so which can lead to which makes them more prone to diseases. And thirdly, availability of clean drinking water. Such factors, all these factors actually decide whether how much a person is prone to a disease. You can do one more activity, conduct a survey about availability of anti-rabies vaccine in your locality. I just told you there are many programs run by the government as well as local authorities to give vaccines to the children to make them resistant to certain diseases. So anti-rabies is one kind of a vaccine. Rabies is an infectious disease which is caused due to dog bite or any other animal bite, which is a vector which carries these microbes. So if anti-rabies vaccine is given, this disease can be prevented.